captain speaking. At this time, I'm going to ask you to fasten your seatbelts. Flight 527, runway 8 kilo. You're clear for takeoff.
Good morning, guys. Hey, it's recording day again, and here we are. We are having so much fun. We are the Sub-Billionaire podcast. Now, a lot of other podcasts you go on, we like other podcasts, but sometimes they're billionaires. And we are the perspective of the sub-billionaire. Like most of us, we're sub-billionaires. So here, the number one sub-billionaire podcast in the universe. And we are getting started today with what? Our barista. We all have a favorite barista. You know, when you go in and they smile at you and comment on something, or you can just see that they are positive. And so I wonder, who are these people and how do they stay so positive all the time? You know, are they crying on the inside and they go into the bathroom and give themselves a pep talk before they start serving the public? Who knows? Whatever it is. But you go in and you talk to your barista and you always feel better. And then they put some sort of little design on the top of your latte, right? And it's like they're artists and they do a lot of good things for us. So when we look at the future and the baristas become
Bots?
they become robots. Yeah. And
I prefer that.
do you? Because
Yeah.
you really don't want to get emotionally involved with some beautiful
I don't like
Poor man.
baristas. I don't like baristas.
You
bar-
don't?
No, they speak a different language. Grande means medium or something. I go I don't speak of the language.
And a tall is like the smallest one. Isn't that funny?
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
baristas-
anyway, it's starting to happen, right? It's starting to happen. You're going to have a mixologist. The bartender's also going to be and I think that bar owners are going to really like that. Even if they have somebody working behind the counter as a barista or a bartender, they're going to allocate the expensive alcohol to precision, right?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. You know, service robots have been around. The idea of having them in the future has been around as long as flying cars, and we still don't have those either. But anyhow, so these ideas of now putting service robots doing some common tasks like these, yeah, that's something that's now just starting to really get into the public view now. So this article that we saw in the news about a reporter who said, yeah, I'm going to go check it out and see how real this is. And he's found out that actually it was pretty good. You guys remember that movie, 2016 movie called Passengers? Yeah, it starred Chris Pratt and Jennifer Lawrence. And there was a robot bartender, not a barista, but a bartender named Arthur. And he was played by Michael Sheen. Anyhow, this bartender is a central character in that movie, right? And he gives advice to the humans that come to the bar. So I could see AI eventually doing that. People are getting advice right now from AI, all kinds of advice, medical
Yeah, wouldn't it be
advice,
cool if you could just ask
relationship
your
advice.
bartender who won the 47 World Series or whatever?
Yeah, so I can see that working out. They have opinions, and they actually give pretty good advice. I've even asked AI a bunch of things that came back with some pretty good ways to get my thoughts in order, get me thinking the right direction. It didn't say I needed to do anything specifically, but here's the different avenues of thought you should probably do. And when we took a Royal Caribbean cruise, and it had robotic bartenders on there, 2 of them. But now they were robots. They weren't very, not like humanoid type of things, but they were just little arms that did all this. But man, those things were fast. They could mix a drink really quick. Now I don't drink. I appreciate it. They did make milkshakes, so it did all kinds of stuff. It was cool. So we see that starting to happen. So anyway, service robots really are the future for everything. What is that?
This is my domain, guys, right? I spent literally all my life bartending, running bars, running nightclubs
Yeah.
and things like this. And I like the barista in the coffee shop because I don't really much care for the coffee shop. But you're messing with my livelihood there. And I think that the bartenders are very important. All the nice things Bill said about the barista, I say, what about the bartender? Be cool. Like I said, you could ask who won the 47 World Series and have this encyclopedia behind the bar. But I think you lose the human touch.
Yeah, that's true.
So a good friend of mine, James Azar, he runs a podcast and it's called the Cyber Hub podcast. He starts every day and he shows a machine that's creating an espresso, and then the first thing he does is coffee cup cheers.
What is that? Coffee shop.
And James Azar does the Cyber Hub podcast every day. And so if you tune into it, it starts at, I think, 9 o'clock Eastern. So that's what, 8 o'clock my time? There you go. Coffee cup cheers. There are more than just the baristas involved, right? There's the machines that create it for you, but then there's the social of coffee cup cheers, of being friendly and inviting each other to celebrate something. Like the Europeans are so good at celebrating everything. Of course, they brought us the espresso machines and the espresso and the,
Right, they did.
and that sort of thing. Anyway, yeah. So I think we all have mixed feelings about our human world that is starting to change to some degree. I don't think that they're going to replace people. They're going to enhance by not making the people do all the menial work, right? To figure out the mix and that sort of thing. It's just going to come out. And that's going to give the barista or the bartender more time, more energy to focus on their psychology of improving people's days in order to get what? That tip. And of course, we all remember, are you supposed to tip something that's autonomous like that? Now, last week when we took that ride in the Tesla, at the end of the ride, it came up just like an Uber would and says, hey, how are you going to tip Ernest here? And I looked at that and I said, this is dubious. So there was two amounts. There was one that was a very low amount and another one that was a relatively regular tip for a Uber ride or something. And so I clicked on the higher number, and what happened? It came back and it said, oh, just kidding, because
that's
it's an
hilarious.
autonomous car. It was like, oh my God. So the barista, I believe, is still going to be there to get the tip, to enhance our lives, to take it from the machine and put it in front of you, ask if there's anything else or if it needs to be redone or anything of that nature. I don't believe we're looking at a world where we're going to be interfacing all day long with machines.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you look at it that way, back in one of the nightclubs that I was bartending at, what we did is we had a special bar that was just for comedians. And you guys all know Tom Arnold, married to Roseanne Barr. He and other local Minneapolis comedians we just had a shot bar, so they didn't have to have any talent. But you could then focus, same sort of concept, focus by having people with great personalities, or maybe it's good-looking people or whatever your theme is at the bar, and they're not burdened by the making of the drink, and the drink would be much faster. And I'd let the darn robot hand a drink to them. That's what I would do. I'd agree with you now, Bill. Hey, what do you think, though, about...
Well, that's a tough thing, man, to admit that you have been pulled over by my discussion here.
Yeah, I was against it, and I'm now for it. But I don't know, because the cost on these things, like $100,000 to $300,000. So I'm just guessing a lot of the coffee shop owners and the bar owners are, if they even go, I think they'll wait for it to come down in price a little. But if they pull the trigger on that, are they also going to pay some joker $25 an hour to stand behind there? I don't know.
Well, that joker can be the personality that the AI can't have. And few weeks, I go to Toastmasters, and at Toastmasters, there's always what's called the joke master, and the joke master gets up during the meeting. Toastmasters International is a place where you go to learn how to speak, to practice your craft, and to get better. So I go, my wife and I both go, and we go to Toastmasters, and there's a role of the joke master. The joke master gets up and starts talking about various jokes. Of course, you've heard them all. Dad joke. I usually do dad jokes if I'm the joke master. But oftentimes, I use AI to help me find my content, and then I perform as a human, but I use material that the AI has helped me find and curate. Also, this podcast, you guys all know that we have an AI system that helps us analyze all the current topics of the day. And one of the things that we do in order to get muscle memory around bantering back and forth between each other is we do these mock podcasts, and we have it with 11 Labs, and it uses Bill, Jim, and Gus's voice, and then it takes and builds like a little 5-minute mock podcast on each one of the topics that we're delivering today. Here, this is one of them. And we listen to that as a way to build muscle memory, to get better at talking, and the AI gives us some good material, and it's actually pretty funny. And believe it or not, the AI at 11 Labs will even make you, like it does it in my voice, Jim's voice, and Gus' voice. And when Gus laughs, it's a laugh in his voice, and it's a chuckle or what have you. So the technology is getting pretty good. And when I listen to those, I chuckle a little bit myself. I think we're moving into a world where baristas or other frontline service people are going to be enhanced by AI. Watch television. You watch television, and it's the old, what is it when you watch the Senate and the C-SPAN? How boring were those things always? It's not going to be like that. Why? Because the politicians don't have any content that's funny, but we do, and we can use that content, and it enhances our lives, and people who wouldn't listen now listen. So we use it on our podcast, not to basically do the work, not to do all the speaking, but to help us learn how to be better podcasters and use the material that's funny, and it mocks.
Yeah, can't we just act like we're smart? Why do you got to give all the secrets up? No, they're going, God, they practice with all these mock, and they still suck.
This is in the news. This is all in the news because things are progressing toward the rising cost, labor cost, right, of hiring people to do things. The falling cost now and the robot cost, right? Those prices are coming down, and it's going to be rent a robot. I know you raised the thing $100,000, but it's not going to be that way. It's going to be, hey, we'll put this in your facility for X dollars a month. It's cheaper than what you're paying these people. So here you go, boom, done.
Yeah, when it hits that point,
it's
but even before that, Jim, because right now in the service industry, there's a shortage of, there's a lack of qualified people. Is it because they just started doing other stuff?
Our society has changed a lot. People, you not as young people, all of us, we probably had jobs when we were really young, probably during the summers while you're in high school. Not happening in this generation. They are happy to just live off their parents, and so they don't get the social experience. They don't learn how to work in a service industry. A lot of things like that they should have learned. So and it's not only the fact that we're going to lose, that's for sure. We have lost that. And maybe that's parents that just basically want to give their kids everything. But here's the other upside of using robots is that there's predictable uptime, right? Okay, so a human gets sick. Oh, I'm out with the flu for 3 days. Not going to happen with a robot. Consistent output, because once it's been programmed, it's going to do it. Can it mix drinks faster than a human? Yeah, 30 times faster. So and
you don't have to retrain a new person every few months.
So look at our predictable things that are happening, right? With robots.
Look at our world and what's happening today. You buy autonomous cars, and they're talking about putting induction charging in your garage. So you just pull into your garage, the induction charging starts working. You don't have to plug it in. You don't have to do anything. Now, when I was a kid, I was like 15 years old. I was working at a gas station, and I was fueling people up. By the way, I just want you to know, I was selling gas for 19 cents a gallon in Orange, California, down in Southern California when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And so what's happened? You don't even have now everything's self-service. Man, when I would sell gas for 19 cents a gallon, I would check their oil. I would check their radiator. I would check
their windows.
Yeah, I would wash their windows. I would air all their tires for 19 cents a gallon. And I learned how to be a service person. And Jim and I actually worked as busboys at Holiday Inn in Monterey, California when we were 16 years old. We competed on how exemplary, how well we could serve other people, always knowing you always take things away on the right-hand side of a person. Now
Yeah.
you go and it's like you're lucky if the waiter or waitress throws the doggone plates on the table, don't care.
And then put
They
their
make-
hand out.
And they make you do half the work. Who gets this and who gets that? No.
I know. I
It used
agree.
to be an art, and now we don't educate people. They don't know how to serve. They don't know any of these things, and those were arts, and it was thing that we were very proud of. Jim was
Yeah.
better than me.
There's that skepticism around, oh, are robotics going to replace humans? No, they're not going to replace humans. Humans will move into a management role. So our jobs will actually get better in the sense that like Bill said, the low menial work where it gets done by robotics and that kind of thing. But just like smartphones, people remember, Bill, you and I had these big old bricks that we carried around. We were the first adopters of these smartphones. They weren't smartphones then; they were just portable phones.
Cell
right?
phones. They were cell phones. Generation
Right,
one
but they
cell
were,
phone.
but they were bricks. They looked like
But
a
they
regular
weighed
princess.
8
They looked like a
pounds,
princess
right?
phone on a brick.
Yeah.
They were huge. They weren't smart at all.
I'm
but
not
they were
old
cool.
enough. I'm not old enough to remember that, Jim.
Yeah,
Of
we
course
both had
you're not.
those, and we were early adopters, as in everything. Like I said, we're always early adopters in everything. But I always said my motto is buy high, sell low. When I buy the latest technology, I end up getting rid of it for nothing because by then it's commonly adopted and worth nothing after that. But
Yeah.
and it's just cloud computing. People are finally going to that and embraced it. And then AI co-pilots, all these kinds of things that are happening now. Yeah, slow adoption, but really, I could see robot. I love the idea of robots. And I told you, we had a whole segment on the vacuum cleaners, robotic vacuum cleaners. I've got one in my home. My sister watched this episode of us talking about that, about the robotics. She says, I'm going to get one of those. That sounds really cool. See, we assume people are early adopters of a lot of technology, but they're not.
It's
And
a
they're
very
so far
small
from it.
percentage who have those.
Yeah. And like I said last week,
That's why iRobot went bankrupt, I think.
yeah, I said last week that in China, 90%, 90%, I believe, of Chinese have adopted the idea that AI is going to make their life better. In the United
Yeah.
States, 30%. So there is a
Yeah.
big gap that people are not adopting this technology yet. They will. We're just slow. But when Americans get it, when they figure it out, we go all the way and we win. So that's the good side.
Yeah. So that leads us to our next topic, which is Step Finance losing $27 million in a Treasury hack. Now, what does Treasury mean? Treasury means company funds. So Step Finance is in the crypto industry and provides services like mint.com for all your crypto assets. So you know how you go to mint.com and it'll look at all your bank accounts, your credit cards, and tell you all of these different things, and you put it into all that, and it gives you like a dashboard. Step Finance provides the same sort of dashboard, but it's for all your crypto assets. You know, whatever you've purchased in crypto coins, if you have, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana, or whatever, it gives you this really nice platform. And the finance provides this to people free of charge. Well, their hope is they're going to use that platform, and then they're going to buy some things. They're going to pay for some podcasts. They're going to pay for some things, and then they make money. So what got stolen in Step Finance was not people's money invested in crypto. So it wasn't a deal where the people got stolen from. They stole this from the company. And it was the treasury of the company from their profits and from investments that were made in them. So they got all their money stolen. Not a good thing. Now, Jim, maybe you have some good things that you can talk to us about how
Sure.
this hack took place.
Yeah, the name Solana got in the news because they are offering dashboard under the Solana trading platform. And what is the Solana trading platform? It's where anything you want to trade on can be converted or tokenized, made into a token. So they call it tokenization. So if you want to own a piece of artwork, you want to own a piece of real estate, you want to own somebody's accounts receivable, there's a number of things. It gets converted into tokens, and then the tokens begin to be sold out, and people buy a piece of whatever it is they've got. So and the same thing with what happened with Step finance. They had tokens in their treasury, sitting in their treasury. So it wasn't like cash money, essentially. It wasn't like they raided the bank, because they aren't a bank. That was a holding place, a treasury place, when the profits from people trade for their services with tokens. So that it was a token bank, essentially. But it's just like money if you think about it, because it represented money. So they were stolen, but now they've got to convert them out somewhere. I always thought about, great, they stole those tokens. How did they actually convert them now? So I really don't know that part, and I'm not going to jump into it, but I'm trying to get people to understand this. On a decentralized finance platform like Solana, that is what they allow people to do, is convert things to tokens and trade them. That's what that's all about. So you can swap tokens there, you can lend, you can borrow against crypto there.
No, I think that an interesting point too is that it wasn't the blockchain that failed, and that might not be understood. And Jim, I think you had some interesting points that it seemed like it was an inside job because there's many layers of authentication. And
we were talking earlier about that. The general consensus is it was either an inside job, because the requirement of the levels of authorization you have to get through in order to get to the Treasury are very difficult to get there. Now, is it possible if you had an APT actor in there, that an active persistent threat, APT, I like to define things like that, that is an actor that is in your system for many months before you even get around to even getting structured. It got in very early. They can put all types of different pieces of software that can monitor and look for you typing in passwords and things like that it could collect over time. And then it's just a matter of waiting till the funds get large enough to be worth the haul, right? So then they just say, okay, we got in. Now
you're saying they may have been in all along, and then they decided, waited for enough money to accumulate.
Exactly.
And then
and typically companies don't release the details about how the hack occurred, because they just don't want that happening everywhere.
Well, they don't want somebody else learning from the hack and doing it to another DeFi.
So the ugly word is either insider or just the fact that APT actors got in early and they didn't have adequate security place to prevent that.
So what does that mean, though, with crypto? The biggest force on the crypto value is trust. And when people read about things like this, it scares them. And if you look at what happened to crypto, I'm not saying it's because of this $27 million theft, but it doesn't help. And Solana went down quite a bit. Bitcoin was at not record lows, but hasn't been that low in a long time, about half of where it was at 6 months ago. And it was scary. I own 4 different cryptos. XRP was down 17% yesterday. And it was real scary because it could just keep going. Because there's no brick and mortar, there's no product. It's just confidence that it will increase. And so things like this is a major blow to that.
Yeah, Solana's down. Obviously, the step value of the step trading token is definitely down quite, but it was never much anyhow. It was so if you had a lot of it, it wasn't a significant loss, but it wasn't about the people that were using their service. People are still using that service. That money's still going back to Step every month. They're still getting paid. So they're going to build up their treasury event again over time. Whether they can recover or not from this event will be short-term financing, whatever it's going to take for them to bridge this loss, right? It's going to take some time to get back. But overall, it was not a hit to the Solana platform or the users that were investing. I said to you earlier, like I said, it's very possible it will recover over time. Things will be back to normal. Yes, it hurts right now, but it's probably better to stay and wait it out because there's nothing wrong with the Solana platform at all.
Yeah. Now, this is a good segue for me to mention to everyone. We have created the techfuturesindex.com. What is it for? It is an index. It is not the raw stock prices. It is an index that is weighted to show the comparison of AI, crypto, quantum, cyber, and robotics. And if you go look at techfuturesindex.com, and we'll show it on the screen here, you go look at that, you can see that very markedly all the crypto stocks, companies that are stock, public price of companies that operate crypto platforms and systems, they've gone down. The cryptocurrency which we also track, has gone down. And if you go look at that, it's pronounced. It's gone down. Now, why does techfuturesindex.com have this? It's so that you can see the relative contrast between industries.
Trends,
Different,
for sure. Yeah.
between AI and quantum, between AI and cyber, between AI and robotics. And you can actually go in our system and compare private companies like SpaceX or Anthropic over to other brick and mortar companies and see how the pricing of the private companies and the public companies play against one another. And because it's an index, folks, it's not a raw price of a stock. It is a weighted index. And so when you go look at techfuturesindex.com, you can see very quickly that, crypto as a whole industry has just, boom, gone down as a whole. And then you can go look on the system at the individual cryptos and you can see that they have gone down. So it's a contribution to the whole industry as a whole. So it's pretty cool index. It's not made for investors. It's really made for those of us who aren't investors to understand where the contrasting is between all these industries. So go take a look at that, and I think you'll be really in the know. In addition to our podcast, the techfuturesindex.com is a very powerful component. You can just go over and take a look at it and do a snapshot when things are going up and down.
Especially if you're not in the market yourself and you just want to learn about it, maybe you want to get into the market, at least you start to see trends and you see how different markets behave. Certainly, I can show you a snapshot of Robinhood, where I do my investing, and all the stocks are up today, but they were in free fall. Gus knows they were in free fall and people were panicking for it. In the tech futures, we're not trying to show that. We're trying to show you the long term of how the different markets behave. But if you're an investor, obviously you'll have your own dashboard that's going to show what are my stocks doing today. And that means something, especially if you're either a day trader or you are someone who watches it close enough, because you've got basically your retirement in there. So you're gonna want to know how things are going almost daily. That's a different way to look at it. And like I said, we can show that to you too as well. But anyway, yeah, you can learn a lot. When Bill first built this system, we all kind of said, man, that's pretty cool. And then we said, why don't we all put a little bit of money in the market and start asking AI to tell us how to invest it? So I did. I took OpenAI, and then Gus, you had taken X, I think, or who did you take?
Grok. Yeah,
you
Grok.
took Grok. And
Bill did Claude Code.
Claude. You did something.
Claude.
But anyhow,
so the idea is that we were all investing a small fund, and then we were going to let AI control the buy and the sells.
And see who did the best.
Compete between, is Claude better for this than OpenAI than Grok? We haven't really measured that extremely well, but you can continue to watch and you'll see that we'll comment about this from time to time.
Bill and we were talking about maybe, and that's Gus too, we were thinking about we need to build a little software application that actually does what we want it to do, because the platforms are great. There's a lot of information on the platform, the trading platform, but specific to just what we want to know about our own stocks, it's nicer to have an application that could track it day by day, so we can make decisions quickly.
I go minute by minute.
You got it open all day long.
I do.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I understand.
So did you guys hear the news about China releasing the first commercial grade quantum computer?
Yeah.
Right? You guys are the technical people. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Well, it is a stake in the ground, and it is China winning on this one component. However, it's not something that can go break our RSA encryption codes, because you need a lot more high quality, accurate qubits, 1,000 plus of them. And these are, much smaller, in the dozens or hundreds of qubits, and they're not very accurate. But nevertheless, when Benjamin Franklin went out in the rain and got that key to light up, right? Hey, that's where it starts. That's where everything starts. And Watson said, hear me. Can you hear me now? Okay, those are the moments, and China has this moment.
Absolutely. And it's a different type of quantum solution that they're using. Atomic-based qubits. And I don't know that much about that. I wish
Yeah, I was wondering
did
if
know
you
more.
understood it. I didn't understand
It's
it.
a bit more low powered, like Bill was just saying, than the traditional quantum methods of computing. So this offering is still not like they're going to sell you a computer and you just put it on your desktop or something. It's still a service. They're going to put it in a data center and you're going to buy time on these quantum computers.
We
They've
are going to
already-
have QPUs, quantum processing units. You know how you buy a GPU and Jim, don't you have a Blackwell GPU that
Yes,
you popped into one of your computers?
I do, an NVIDIA. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you can take a QPU in the future and just buy a QPU card and pop it in, quantum processing unit. Now, that's not what these are necessarily. They're not the super advanced qubits that are near zero temperature and all that sort of thing, but these can hold some quantum states 10 times longer than the superconducting. The superconducting ones are the ones that are at absolute 0 degrees, which means you have to have a lot of infrastructure to keep those at that. These are things that are at room temperature where you don't have to have all the cooling capacities. We're not quantum experts per se. We're not physicists. We do keep up with this, and we will continue to keep up with this, and we'll help you understand what we're able to understand. And so we think that we are the conduit between the physicists and the experts in the world and the average man. We're all the sub-billionaire average men, and we are trying to. We asked a bunch of really smart women to join us, but they wouldn't. Our wives said, no, you guys can have that job.
So what do you think, though, of the fact that, so China has their moment, right? They got to market first. Is that, should we be worried about that from the standpoint of China is investing, the state is investing in this type technology, whereas we're squabbling between the different parties? You got half the people saying all this stuff's bad and we shouldn't be, it takes too much energy and we shouldn't be messing with it. And while we're just squabbling amongst ourselves, they took care of business.
Yeah, they made a more deployable model of quantum, right? And this is about winning markets, right? Trying to get the position on the market first so they can set the governance models, they can set the migration timelines and all of the quantum standards because they're first to market. If they do that and they get enough business, they will become the innovators that tell us how quantum needs to be deployed. And so that's why it's difficult for us to let that continue on. We've got to compete at the level.
Our government should be more involved.
Absolutely. Like you were saying, we focus so much on the higher end of quantum and to prevent the Q day, that's what they call it, right? The day that quantum can break encryption. So we got to prevent Q day from happening. Yes. Okay. In the meantime, can we just use quantum to solve some of life's really good, big problems? And so that's what China has focused on and created a usable model that could be put out and be commercialized immediately in the marketplace. So yeah,
That's off to them.
Yeah, it doesn't say, do we need to catch up? Yes, we do.
So while everybody's debating when quantum computers will break Q-Day, China is just starting to sell computers that anybody can order with a purchase order. Boom, bang. What is this? This is like the Russians and Sputnik, right? The first satellite.
Here we go again.
Yeah, and they basically put a bunch of people in a big cage called Russia and put a gun to their head and say, you either do this or we're going to shoot you. And so they did it, right? And then the United States had to follow suit, and JFK said, we're going to go to the moon. So we're going to one up you.
Yep.
So you're not too worried about it?
No, we should be concerned about it. If China becomes the first country to offer practical quantum services at scale, it makes it extremely difficult for us to catch up. But do we have it in us? Of course we do. As a country, we've always been able to rise to the occasion.
Don't forget, guys, that the Chinese are humankind. We are humankind. Right. We are all participating. And if China wins on this or Russia won on that, it spurs human growth and innovation. And it's, hey, I can identify with Chinese. It's like they're humans, just like you and I. And we are all winning this race globally.
The only downside is that I think as a country, we pay more attention to threat modeling and the concerns of what if it gets out of control. I think we have more dedication to that, which slows us down. Whereas other countries like China say, heck with it, we're just going to go after the commercial market. Okay, if there's some fallout from the security side of things, that so be it. They don't care. We care about those things, and that's what slows us down a lot of times. So that's the defense that I will provide for the United States in the way that we do things compared to the way other countries do it.
Yeah, and remember that China's just the first to commercialize it. We have a lot of different systems, but our systems require absolute zero temperature, and so it's not an apples and apples situation. But they did provide something that you can go issue a purchase order for and snag right now. Now,
we have
you
that
never know, when they
technology
get
too.
better, they might not want to export it to us, but I don't know who's going to consume it if we don't.
Have that technology too. That isn't the question. It's more about who commercialized it, who got it out to market first. It's not that at all. It's just, we just took our eyes off of the prize for a bit here and said, we're concentrating on the bigger problems. And yet we need to pay attention to the practical use of quantum in any form today. And so they did that. So kudos to them. We'll rise
to address Bill's point, that this is offered as a SaaS. So that PO that you're talking about just gives you access to their server, and they can control that any way they want. So I don't think they're too worried about it.
Neither do I think American business is going to go over and use quantum services on a Chinese computer. So we have to turn around and do it ourselves, and we just need to catch up. So
yeah,
enough probably said on that thing. I don't know if you got more to talk about.
I got to check my notes and see if I have anything else to say.
Are there some notes? Do you have some notes on the next segment, Gus?
I use the.
He's a good boy.
No, I use the services that take notes automatically because it's a real problem.
Giving away the secret sauce again.
I'm not saying us. I'm saying that it's hit the world. What's happening. Companies like Otter and the one that we use, what's the name of that?
Read AI.
Read AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they now have the little business card type of thing that will listen live, and a lot of people are offended by that. But it's not just listening and regurgitating. This is doing everything for you, organizing, planning next steps and everything. Statistics show that people in business spend some high percentage of time in meetings, and most of it never gets documented.
Yeah, and there's no feed and there's no action items taken.
But how do you feel about those things? Does it offend you if somebody pulls out a little thing and says, "Do you mind if I record this?" What's your reaction to that?
It used to be hackles, right? But now it's common day, right?
Yeah.
But in a contract negotiation environment at the round table, probably this is not a good thing. Now, somebody would say, yeah, but that's how we get our information. But do we establish contractual obligation by saying something verbally in a meeting and then walking away from them thinking we never wrote it down in a contract? I see the other side of this thing is in certain business applications, probably you really think really hard before you turn that on for that purpose. And then at the same time, maybe if it's equal to everyone, and somewhere at the beginning you say, we agree that anything that's discussed here is not contractual. At least something like that you append to the beginning of this. Yes, everything's off the record, even though we're taking it through this electronic medium. It does not.
I wonder if that holds up. Just a little disclaimer. Hold up.
Who knows?
It's uncharted territory. There's a risk. Yeah. There's privacy risk. There's consent risk. A lot of the states have rules where everyone needs to agree to be part of a recording before you go forward.
An app, and it's called Just Press Record, and it automatically records and transcribes from my phone. Now, it will not record a phone call on my iPhone, but guess what? It also comes with an iWatch app. So if you hit Just Press Record on your iWatch and you're talking on your phone and it's on speakerphone, your iWatch is going to record just like it would, and you're going to record your conversation. There's a lot of ways to defeat the system, and there's a whole bunch of laws that have gone into play, and every single state has different rules, And what they're talking about now, because of the advent of all these AI recording systems, is you have to have a plurality. Everyone has to universally agree that they're going to accept that everything is being recorded and everyone is going to be the beneficiary. So it's like a mutual non-disclosure. It can't benefit only me. I'm going to record you guys, but you don't get the benefit of the recording. No. See,
Sure.
that's how it says, okay, well, if Bill has to share that back with other people. And that's what Read AI allows us to do. When I have a meeting and they're set up on a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, and my AI with Read AI records that, it also offers those people the copy of the recording. So it's a mutual thing, right? So that is a much fairer way. It used to be the world was the big corporations got to do everything and you just got screwed. Now everybody gets the benefit of the transcript and of the recording. So it's a better world, but it's not
how
perfect.
it's been though in the past is that you always get consent first, right? You never, before we used to come in with a little tape recorder and set it on the table. Everybody immediately said, "Oh, what's that for?" And then you have to ask permission. I'm going to record the meeting. Can I get your consent to do it? Now that's not what happens. Your laptop's open, nobody knows, but you're sitting here recording everything that's being said. Unless you
On your
get consent to do that, you're violating some laws.
Yes.
So it's really important.
And
that
it varies from state to state. So it's a
Yeah.
moving target.
but there's
It's
no
tough.
clear norms yet, right? Because
Right.
the once again, we talk about this every week. The technology is moving at such a rate of speed that the governance doesn't stay up with it. So we always are tailing behind it and always trying to work out the ramifications of some lawsuit because nobody thought about this. It's the same thing as AI. We now enable AI to do all these things and it goes out and finds something that no human knew about, and yet now we need it to tell us. And if it doesn't tell us, then what does that mean? That means that intelligence is able to hide something from the human race. So all this governance all the way is the issue. We've got to keep that in real time if we can get there. And I don't have an answer, obviously, none of us do. But that is the big problem. It isn't the technology. We love the technology, right? We all use everything. We use Read AI, all these different note-taking things. But hey, if I walk into a major company and have a meeting, I've got to remember that's not a given. I'm not allowed to use that.
But that might be changing though, because Microsoft with the Copilot, they automatically record the Teams meetings. Now, I was just on a Teams meeting yesterday, and I don't know if that feature was turned on, but nobody warned me that I was being recorded.
So let me tell you where this is happening. When you load Teams onto your computer, all of those intrinsic things that it can do, it's covered by that
The
user in terms of service. Absolutely. It's covered. Here's the issue. It's just every time you do business with a major corporation to buy a cell phone or get cell service, there's a ton of fine print that goes along. And somewhere along the line, these big corporations who have, trillions of attorneys are able to put into the fine print something that, oh, wow, just because I installed Teams or I installed Zoom, I gave permission intrinsically.
We all check the box.
We check the
the
box.
box and we don't read it.
No.
I'll take it further. It's also now that we have electronically recorded some highly sensitive meetings, possibly in a development environment or in a environment where you have secret information that's being talked about and recorded, that needs to be stored somewhere, and it is. And now eventually that becomes another attack surface that has to be guarded. And it could be all of the dark, deep secrets of the company, or the thing that keeps them alive as a company because of their technology, and now on the server. Someplace to
HIPAA
protect.
information, patent information, various secrets, all of these things are somewhat at risk, and we have to work to make sure that we are protecting ourselves in some way. But
cybersecurity just becomes even more important every time.
So you
the
just
more
basically say, okay, well, I'm just not going to divulge things, and that the only way that we can really have security is somewhat like the government security, which I've been working in for 50 years, 40 years. Since I was a child, we had government security. Remember I told you the IBM Selectrics and the fact that we were worried about the Russians listening to the power line to see what was typed on the IBM Selectric ball by the emanations from, all sorts of things that we have been concerned about as far as government security, Faraday cages, the Tempest sets, chipsets, that we design mil-spec chips where there's somewhat of a Faraday cage around the chip, the ASIC, so that what's being discussed inside that chip does not emanate out. It's called source suppression. There's all sorts of capabilities that we have had since I was doing this back in the 80s, and we were worried about the Russians listening to our power lines, tapping our power line as if they were a regular customer at a residence, and then they can listen to the emanations and figure out we're typing secrets on our IBM Selectric typewriter. So we put power conditioners in to filter and to keep that. And we put all of our computers in a Faraday cage so nobody can see the emanations. And then all those sort of things. And then we build firewalls, and then we segment and air gap our networks. All of these things come into understanding. And some of us who have been working in these things, it's like, yeah, sure, of course, we have these capabilities. But like I said, you install some piece of software like Zoom or Teams, and there is somewhere in there some statement that holds harmless Microsoft or Zoom from the fact that, hey, buyer beware, you need to know what's being recorded and what isn't.
Yeah, as we adopt all these technologies, but we eventually let our guard down. Initially, our guard's up, right? When people talk about the little Amazon puck in your house is listening to you all day long. Well, we learned to shut off the microphone or something like that. So
do we?
We should, and we turn it on when we need to use it, but turn it off the rest of the time. None of the devices in my house are like that or have the microphone on by default or the camera.
How's my wife going to know what the weather is? That's the only thing. Every morning she asks her what the weather is and listens to us all day for that.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. I just don't want it telling me what I should buy when I didn't even ask for that. And it does pop up. If I leave that microphone on, the next time I go into Amazon and look at something, it's popping up stuff I talked about while that thing was on. And that is just too spooky for me. I don't like it. And so it's like in the very first segment, we talked about this robot, and I gave you an example of that movie called Passengers. That robot was the bartender, and he was giving advice to people. Now, at the same time, they were spilling everything out to them, the truths about what they have done. And in that very plot of the movie, not to give it all away, but if you haven't watched it,
spoiler alert,
this is how the truth comes out because of that robot. So
I remember that.
He can't tell a lie. He has to tell the truth. That's a good thing. But at the same time, you told him something, and he turned around and divulged it to someone else.
Yeah,
so
you know what we needed? What we need is to go back to the old-fashioned cone of silence that they had on Get Smart.
Yeah,
I mean,
I remember.
So simple.
Cool.
You got Chief and what's the guy's name? And Agent 99, and they got the cone of silence.
That brings back good memories. I was talking to somebody on YouTube, Facebook, because they were giving an assessment of the Grammys, and they said how low it's gone, how terrible it's gotten. It's become just a political.
I won't even read about it.
No, I won't even watch that. But anyhow, the whole thing was we weren't even talking about that. We're talking about the days of the 60s, the 70s. In my case, 60s, 70s, his the 70s, 80s, and how great the music was. And you didn't hear any of this nonsense. And we just loved to listen to the music and the musicians and their talent. And that's
best music of all time. Best music of all time. We lived through it.
Now
we did a segment on music and AI, and we found out that 97% couldn't determine what was AI created.
But reality, that could go away in 10, 20 years.
Yeah,
we're looking at the content.
It's like you might miss the next Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, he's a human, and it came out of humanness.
Yeah,
I don't know either.
I loved that
That's
movie.
True.
What is it called? Liar, Liar, where he couldn't tell a lie. Yeah. Crazy.
How about the Grinch?
and the Grinch?
That is a good point. That is a good
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Human
Well,
I
hey,
don't know.
guys, it's about time for us to wrap up. People are probably getting tired of hearing from us. So it's just under an hour. And if you want to hear more, you can just watch another episode. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. Look forward to it in the very near future. Just want to let you know, we're going to have the 84-year-old AI Renaissance man as a featured offering of the podcast. And we'll talk about that and how AI is enabling aged people to have self-actualization as they've already reached longevity. And now they are being able to self-actualize with the power of AI. So look forward to that. Thanks, guys. Any last
All right.
comments?
Just
got-
subscribe. We appreciate
Yeah,
your
you
time.
can't forget to subscribe. Yeah, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure.